The 2012 Kansas legislative session has completed its first 7 weeks of the session. This was a very important week, an important date, because it's considered turnaround deadline, which means that in most cases House bills need to pass the House and Senate bills through the Senate by this date if they're going to be considered before adjournment. Of course, there are always exceptions to those, but it is a good cutoff and gives folks a feel for what are going to be the issues in the last third of the session. There's 2 water bills that have moved fairly quickly, and it seemed to be a priority to get some of these bills through the session early so that they could become law and water users could plan on it. One bill is called a repeal of the use it or lose it doctrine in closed areas for appropriation. That bill has passed through the House, has passed through the Senate. It's expected to be signed by the governor here in the next few days. The other bill is Senate Bill 272, called the multi-year flex account. It amends the current law to make it more friendly and to make it more attractive for water users to enroll in a 5-year flex plan where they could get 5 years of their water use and use that accordingly during that 5-year period. That's to give folks more flexibility in especially dry years like we've had in 2011. Again, that bill is expected to be signed and that could go into effect, in fact, as early as the middle of March. There still seems to be some push to do an income tax reform bill. The governor led the session with one that would lower and phase out the tax rates for individuals. But the House Republicans has taken that approach and put out their own plan, which too lowers the rates. But their bill also will phase out the income tax for non-wage income. That's the income for LLCs and subchapter S corporations and sole proprietorships. It's too early to determine whether this bill will get through the Senate, but first will have to be considered by the full House, which could happen this week or next week. There was an interesting hearing in the Senate Ag Committee last week on a bill that was advanced by the Kansas Department of Agriculture and the Animal Health Department. This bill has many aspects to it. Probably the most important is that it changes the definition of feral swine, broadens that definition so more of our wild pigs are certain to be considered feral, and it prohibits the shooting preserves of feral swine, which the legislature intended to do many years ago. There's another part of the bill that amends the current law that has penalties for breaking and entering into animal and research facilities, and this provision would say that someone who essentially lied in a job application in order to get the job to have access to a facility would not be exempt from some of the protections of the current law. In other words, they could face penalties if they lied about employment to get access. The last part of the session, I'm sure, will be a lot of debate and consideration for various immigration and labor bills. The legislature took kind of a week off last week, but it's expected that they'll get back and focus on the bill that the Kansas Livestock Association and the Business Coalition suggest is a state sponsorship, business-friendly bill, Senate Bill 399, and the House bill is 2712. There are other bills also that's been introduced. Several of those would require certain employers to participate in an E-Verify program to check the status of new workers. We'll see how those proceed and have a report on other issues in the future.